Welcome back, friends. So, keeping the 2018 UPSC attempt as a target, we are coming out with a series of new videos. The videos, which will in all total around 50, will help you master the skill of atlas reading or map reading. Map reading or atlas reading forms an important aspect of UPSC examinations as well as other competitive examinations. And in prelims, 2 to 4 questions are directly asked from the atlas. While in the mains also it helps us in value addition, as some questions of international relations and international affairs we can draw a map just for the value addition purpose and gain some extra marks. Besides, atlas reading is of immense help to the geography optional students because geography optional is nothing without an atlas. So keeping all these things in mind and focusing over the 2018 attempt, we have come out with these series of videos. And the first video, today's video, is just going to be an introductory video about atlas reading. In this video, we are just going to see the need of atlas reading for UPSC, as one can see in this chart. Secondly, we are going to have a look over the correct method of atlas reading. And lastly, we are going to have a look over starting of the atlas reading, how to start with atlas. And subsequently, from the next week onwards, we are going to upload 4 to 5 videos per week, focusing over every continent in detail and helping the students in grasping the locations with a clear-cut approach and helping the students also in revising the locations time and again. So before beginning with today's video, let me tell you one crucial point, and that is atlas reading or atlas marking of locations upon the atlas is a skill, and locations cannot be mugged up or memorized. The basic fault in the approach of the maximum aspirants is that they try to mug up or memorize the locations. And in the long term, it becomes so difficult to remember everything that it creates a phobia in the mind of the aspirants. So one must be able to picturize the maps rather than memorize the maps. Picturization means just focusing over the map, focusing over the locations in the atlas and closing one's eyes and imagining the map in front of one's eyes and imagining where is a particular location located which was marked in the atlas. So this picturization tricks helps us in the long, you can see long term remembering of any location. So let us have a look over today's points. The first crucial discussion point is the need of atlas reading for UPSC. So why do we need atlas reading for UPSC is in prelims directly 2 to 4 questions are asked from the atlas, and these questions are especially of current based or current oriented, that is these locations were in news for the past 1 or 2 years. So this shows one thing that we need to read the newspapers along with the atlas if we are going to remember certain locations. Secondly, environment questions in the prelims. The environment questions, let me tell you, they number around 15 to 20 out of 100 questions in prelims. So environment questions in the GS portion, they come with an input of location also nowadays. In the last couple of attempts, it has been seen that the statement based questions over environment, they are having an input of geography as well. So locations become very crucial, especially for physical features. Besides, it is of general help in GS mains. GS mains, especially in geography portion, geography is a part of GS paper 1 and international relations portion, which is a part of GS paper 2. International relations is a crucial portion, and if we draw a map or if we show a location in a diagram, it gives an edge over other students. Example, South China Sea, example, Indian Ocean, example, Seychelles. If these locations, if the question comes over these locations, we can draw a map to show that yes, we know about the locational aspect of the question. Also, the geography optional students, the atlas reading is of immense help. So it is a must for them. They cannot ignore atlas reading at any cost. Now let us have a look over the correct method of atlas reading. So the first crucial correct method is keep atlas ready while reading a newspaper. So as I told, these 2 to 4 questions in prelims are coming directly from current orientation. So when we are reading a newspaper, we must keep a atlas ready at our table, and at once we must mark a location which is in news, especially the global locations and especially the physical features. Besides, the correct method also includes we should not mug up the locations, rather picturize them in our mind. Picturization, as I told now, that we must imagine that the map is in front of us, and we should imagine at one time 2 or 3 locations upon that map. It helps us in better retention of the location. Besides, giving more focus over physical features is a crucial aspect. So the questions of UPSC nowadays, they are not coming from political features, they are more focused on physical features. We should pay more attention to the physical features map in the atlas. Also, we should read and study the locations related to each other and in a particular direction. That means we should not mark the locations and remember it isolated in isolated way. We must remember it relative to another landmark, and we must remember a pair of locations in a particular direction, for example west to east or north to south. So it helps us to know the relative locations upon the map, and it helps us in better retention of the locations in our mind. Also, taking the help of technical details or index should only be done when it is needed or as a last resort. We should not refer index or technical details at once, because it is not needed in UPSC. Lastly, we should never read the atlas for more than 15 to 30 minutes at a stretch. So at maximum 30 minutes, because more than 30 minutes we are going to have a headache if we read the atlas for more than 30 minutes. So at max 30 minutes, and appropriate time is 20 minutes. Only 20 minutes, that is all, at one stretch. And we can have a 2 stretch of atlas reading in a day if possible. And lastly, the most crucial point is that we should form a group of 2 to 3 students to revise and ask questions over the atlas. So 2 to 3 students should be there in the group, not more than that, and they should ask rapid fire questions amongst themselves. It helps us to memorize the locations in a better way. So this is the correct method of atlas reading. Amongst this, the most crucial point is that we must remember the locations in a particular direction, especially west to east and north to south. Now let's have a look how to start with the atlas reading. That is a very crucial point. So starting with atlas reading, first we must start with the understanding of the concepts of famous latitudes and longitudes. Latitudes and longitudes, we must be able to remember the famous latitudes and longitudes. For example, the famous longitudes and latitudes are, the latitudes are equator, tropic of Cancer and tropic of Capricorn. Along with that, Arctic Circle and Antarctic Circle, they are the famous latitudes. So we must mark them upon the world map, and we must remember them always while reading a map. Besides, the famous longitudes, that is prime meridian or the Greenwich Mean Time and the international dateline, we must be able to mark them as well and memorize them. So the first step of starting atlas reading is remembering these longitudes and latitudes. Next, the second step is mark them upon the world map on both political and physical maps. So this is the second step of atlas reading. The student should mark these latitudes and longitudes upon the world map given at the last of the atlas and in both the political and physical maps. Next, the third step subsequently we should be taken is we should open the individual continent maps and again mark these latitudes and longitudes. So every continent has a political map as well as a physical map. So we must mark the countries. Political map consists of countries, borders and locations. So on the political map we must mark the countries cut across by these latitudes, and that should be in a particular direction from west to east, and cut across by longitudes from north to south. Example, Greenwich Mean Time or Prime Meridian or 0 degree longitude. It cuts across UK, France, Spain. In this way, we must be able to memorize from north to south. And for example, Tropic of Cancer in Africa, it cuts across Morocco, Libya, Algeria, Egypt. We must be able to memorize from west to east, not random. It should always be in a particular direction. And in the similar way, the physical map also, the same thing should be done. That is the mark the mountains. Mountains are shaded with brown color, that is brown color areas are mountains. Mark the mountains, rivers, deserts, seas, along with that lakes and other physical features being cut by these latitudes, west to east and longitudes north to south. So even the mountains, rivers, deserts and seas should be marked, which are being cut by these latitudes and longitudes. So this is the beginning of atlas reading. Once these steps are done, the candidate should make a copy of map reading or atlas reading and write down the name of the countries in every continent which are being cut by these latitudes and longitudes and in a particular direction only. And one can make formulas also for remembering them. And the same thing should be done for a physical map. The candidate should write down in the same copy, the mountains, the seas, the deserts, the rivers, and the lakes being cut by latitudes and longitudes. And the candidate can also make formulas. The formulas can be shared with the other candidates as well. So this is the beginning of atlas reading, and we hope you liked the video. So we'll be coming out with a series of videos. All in all, there will be 50 in number, and at the end of all these videos, you'll be able to master the skill of atlas reading. So keep liking us, keep subscribing to us. Best of luck. Thanks a lot for today.